And we've got the Honorable Minister of Local Government and the Regional Development, Ms. Priya Manickchand, joining us early this morning here on New Day. And she's here for our inaugural edition. Good morning, Minister Manickchand.
Good morning to you, Alana, and all your
Good morning.
listeners and viewers. I feel very special to be on your
Yeah,
inaugural show.
it's great to have you here. If you can just inch a little closer to that microphone for us, get it moving a little bit.
Yeah.
Nice. We're hearing you loud and clear. How you been doing?
Good.
Do you miss education?
No.
No.
I don't because we're in the regions and we can do education through the regions and education's in good hands, so I'm not worried.
Because a
We
lot of
left
folks
some
were
good
surprised when you did not go back to that portfolio. Like, what are they doing? Even folks who were protesting against you as education minister said, bring back Priya.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by that?
Um, I knew before I was sworn where I would be
Uh-huh.
and what I would accept. So yeah, I wasn't surprised there.
And you were comfortable with that?
Yes, because you had it. Nothing can be imposed on one.
Mm.
One has to accept it. Look, when you go into these posts, I'm very, very conscious, especially particularly after post 2015,
Yeah.
that this is the people's post. So if you look even at my offices and how they're done, I very rarely have personal things there. But I have a photograph or two or
Mm.
pieces of art that you really like or something. But this is the people's post, and they
Yeah.
could throw you out through the people, or people who elected a leader like the president or whatever could ask them not to have you, or there can be changes made for development of other sectors. So I never treat anything. It's a 5-year period.
Mm.
It has a beginning and it has an end, and if that end is renewed, then great. But if it isn't, that's something I expect.
Yeah. And I know you've been, since you've gone across to that local government ministry, you've been a busybody.
Yes.
You know, from day one, 12 hours late, you're up in Linden and you've never stopped going.
Yeah, well, to me, if you're gonna do something, do it properly. If
Yeah.
it's worth doing, I keep telling my children that if it's worth doing, do it well. If not, don't bother.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time.
And the big issue now, I know, is the Stabrook Market. That was a headline story for much of last week with those vendors, some of them concerned about whether they might be displaced with what you're doing there. So, for persons who may not be too clear on exactly what that project entails, break it down for us.
Yeah, the whole story I think came about because we have a history of mistrust between central government and the municipality, between the municipality and vendors. So there's a lot of mistrust, and I hoped after that became a rallying point for politicians and others that one of the things we could do with this is not only build out a space that I'll tell you about just now,
Yeah.
but also show people that when you say you're going to do something or you're not going to do something, that you actually can be trusted. And so we said very clearly, at this point, vendors are not going to be moved, and they will not be moved at this point. We have to reorganize different squares: the Border Market, the Monrepo Market, the Stabrook Market. We have to reorganize public spaces, but we have to do that in consultation with people. And for me, particularly, that people who make a living off those spaces are not, that they're not interfered with their living. So what we do at Border Market, we're building out a square, a space that would allow for families to sit down and enjoy the experience of Stabrook Market.
Yeah.
Enjoy the experience of Stabrook. Raise the flooring because the vendors actually complained themselves about that. Inside that square, there were literally only two vendors, which is why I was very perturbed to see people say we were displacing them. There are two vendors, and Ganesh Mahipal of the opposition took a drone shot to show the space and inadvertently showed the two vendors. One is a coconut vendor, and one is a lady who sells wares, literally wares, plates and cups and mats and so on. And neither of them was displaced in this period, and neither will be displaced. In fact, I spoke to the coconut man. I said, you could actually sell, but of course not with a barrel and a coconut and a cutlass. and just dropping your stuff on the ground. When the square is finished, we'll give you a corner in that square where you become the coconut man of the square if
Yeah.
this is something you want.
Yeah.
He looked at me. I'm not sure he believes me as yet. I'm not sure he trusts me with that as yet, but I'm willing to work for his trust.
Yeah.
The lady with the wares, we have to find a spot for her because she's not gonna be able to sell wares on that spot.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine it. Tables, families buy something from Demico and eating it over there.
Yeah.
Music playing, two young artists who are trying to start up their band going right there and playing their music for people to hear. An artist setting up their place where they can do portraits of people who pass by. The clock working in the background that's saying, I'm saying that fingers crossed. And then just the building out of a new area. We're very pleased that the whole um, reduction of garbage has taken effect by the putting down of bins and the clearing out of those bins by a dedicated garbage truck. So we've begun to see changes there.
And that's a good thing. People accept the change, and so they want the change. But some people are saying, the timing of this,
Right.
it's a holiday season. They want to make that extra buck.
Yeah.
So.
But that's like I said, I'm very, very, very conscious of that garden because a lot of those women out there, a lot of people out there are women, and you know me. For the last 20 years, I've spent my public life looking after women, and even before I came into public office, my whole focus was on how I could make sure I could use the law to promote and elevate and so on women and girls and children. So I wouldn't do anything to hurt anyone. Like I said, there are literally two vendors there. Because people didn't know, they thought we might have gone and mowed down all the stalls. I didn't do that. And so hopefully by now, a week later, they realize, okay, so she didn't do it. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of mistrust because these people have been treated badly before by a whole set of people, not just, and so, yeah, the timing, nobody has been stopped from selling at this time. I know I saw some narratives that business has gone down, but if you really go on the ground, that's not true. Nothing has gone down, nothing has gone up either. But I expect to see that in the Christmas season changing.
Yeah.
And I think this space will probably, if people go out there to enjoy a Christmas tree and music playing, they're more likely to buy something from the vendors around there. So you probably will get more business because of this. Yes, the environment, right?
But how you in terms of that area? Because eventually, when Christmas comes and goes, you'll have to look at the long-term plan
Mm-hmm.
for that entire area. We got the old GNCB there. We have your former ministry, Human Services. They have their building down there. The old fire station is there. Is the government going to look at probably procuring some of those buildings and making a wider shopping zone? So those persons who might be displaced from the front, there's still a place for them.
Right. So the government is looking at restoring the entire Georgetown, and we've started with some places. Starbrook Block is one of those places. And like this, that's why I began early, and I said they won't be moved now at this point because there's Christmas upon us and so on. But that doesn't mean that we aren't going to set up a food court separately so that everybody selling food is in the same place, or that we aren't going to set up a clothing area separately, or better yet, don't want to talk about it too early, but we're going to build back the entire Stabrook Market and make it into, while we keep the beauty. So that's the thing about restoration. Restoration is not necessarily replacement. It's keeping the look and feel and history of a place, but restoring it like City Hall. City Hall has been restored rather than rebuilt. So I'm just making that distinction. And look at how beautiful City Hall is, incidentally, my most favorite building in Georgetown. Second comes in the High Court. I hate that yellow color. But the High Court I love because of its architecture, but because of the justice it hands out too, right? But we could restore the Stabrook Market where vendors inside are not flooded out. We just awarded a contract to fix the roof so that people aren't getting wet when it rains. So there's a whole build out right now. Colin Crowell is leading from the Ministry of Housing a consultation across the city about city drainage and what that looks like for every single corner of the city of Georgetown. So it's a very comprehensive, complete plan. All of this being done with the King's Foundation having a great input in with their expertise in maintaining structures and maintaining the look and maintaining the feel.
Yeah.
So yes, it's not a wild Oregon or pull this thing around, put in glass buildings and high
Right.
rises that take away from what we know. Georgetown must look and feel like an old Georgetown, but cleaner,
Mm.
modern. Public facilities like sanitation and sanitary facilities, public transportation that is organized, a city that is safe, a city that is shady and beautiful. We're known for that. I remember, when I did law, they had about 20 Jamaican students here, and every year they would come down and do their first year here and then go off to Barbados for 2 years and then back to law school at Mona in Jamaica. And I remember hearing this conversation about how these kids, well, young people at the time, would go on the avenue of outside Guyana stores there
Mhm.
and just walk down that avenue. And that they would do that frequently because they knew they were only here for a year. And they love the trees and they love the avenues. So if you look at avenues right now, they're being rebuilt. We are going to start at local government, Thomas Street, the one block remaining on East Street and Hatfield Street. Ministry of Public Works, along with the First Lady's office, is going to be doing um, Camp Street and all those avenues going back. So there's a lot of work going
Yeah.
on to restore. So I want to use that word very carefully. Restore Georgetown to make it a feeling of you'll start seeing things like um, riding tours, not just a bike, but where someone could sit in a carriage like you're in Manhattan and drive around, ride around the city, so that you get to see an open air type of architecture and trees and people and art and so on. Look at what's happening in Tiger Bay right now. Tiger Bay is a hive of activity, and I'm quoting my husband there because last night Tiger Bay was a hive of activity. You're gonna have all the streets redone. You're gonna have all the drainage redone. There's a Presbyterian church there where we're going to rehabilitate the Sunday school part. So all the kids are going to be going to Sunday school steadily every Sunday. I think that's an important part of their life. Um, a snack or meal is going to be provided. The um, the passageways between those homes, those are private lands, so we have to be careful with what we do. But while people are living there, whether they are squatting or not, the fact is they're living there. We could make sure that has a human face. And so you're going to see a build out of that. You're going to see a basketball, futsal area, which has been loaned to us by very kind Mr. Matai, whose property it is. He uses it for parking in the day, and in the evening, we'll use it for games and community type activity that is healthy and safe and coached.
Mm.
Uh, so there's Kit Kingston is going to be same thing, drainage, roads, all of that will be done. So these are the first two model areas we've picked. I'm
Yeah.
happy because Kingston houses us and Tiger Bay houses the president. So, we're starting off with those two areas, but this is going to go on across the country.
But is it going to be long term? Because we have seen pockets
Mm,
of development plans in different parts of the country, and they begin well. They look good after the first hurrah, and then you move on to something else,
right,
right? And
right.
that area goes back because people continue doing
Makes
what they've been
sense. Yeah.
doing, what they've accustomed doing. So what are you going to do to change that mindset
So
and
here's the
have a long
thing.
term plan?
You are absolutely right. These things have to have a built-in maintenance plan. Built in. So it's not just going in there, getting the photographs, a nice story, and then leaving. Which is why I spoke to you just now about knowing exactly how many children are in these homes.
Yeah.
There are people there who will tell you, as they have told me, I don't want to move, and has brought into the forefront of my considerations.
Mhm.
What is a government's role? Is it to impose change, even if it is change for the better? And how do we know it's better? Is it our version of better? Or do we listen to what people want and then work around that? And that for me is something I've been examining over the weekend. Um, and so change will have to be long term. Some of a lady told me there, because we were looking at how we could get a sanitary facility, toilet and bathroom.
Yeah.
Um, and the majority of residents want it. And while we are very conscious it's private land and we can't encourage squatting, while people live there, they must be able to shower, especially girls, without their entire bodies being exposed. They must be able to use the bathroom in dignity, right? And there's a lady who said, look, carry your so and so, move from here. I don't want no toilet or no bathroom. This space is for my 17-year-old and her man.
Mm.
And I'm quoting directly there. And that might sound harsh to your listeners' ears because it sounded harsh to mine. But at the same time, this is what she knows. So this is not a short term thing.
Yeah.
What we have to do is make sure every single child goes to school, that is monitored every day. That if you don't go to school, the school tells me personally, the ministry, what not necessarily the Ministry of Education alone, but the Ministry of Local Government, this is our project. Why this child did not come to school, that we run in there and we check why. That they go to a structured Sunday school where they get life lessons. And those things teach more than just about God. They teach about how to live. And so you'll see changes about what people want, not tomorrow, not the next day, but perhaps 10 years down the line. So this has to be a sustained program, a long-term program where we work with people to have them, give them and have them enjoy a better quality of life through education, through training, through the provision of other facilities. You'd be surprised that quite a number of people in there, perhaps higher than 80%, already have house lots in their names.
Mm.
And so how do we do the transition from owning a piece of land and making that into an asset for the person and having them understand what that asset means? There is a transported piece of property in there that we were trying to say, look, you already have house lots. Why don't you build a house on those, or let us help
Yeah.
you do that while you rent this to a business so that they can throw up a building. You're not selling, leasing, and then you get that money every month. And it was rejected out of hand. Perhaps because they don't know what that means, or perhaps because we simply do not want to rent to big owners. So we have to listen to people too, right? But it doesn't hurt to tell people how they can earn for themselves. So yeah, I love that project and how it's coming along, and I could see, and that's why I tell you, I meet people now back that I met 10 years ago and 15 years ago whose lives have changed because of stuff we did. And so as I was decorating my Christmas trees, I mean live Christmas trees with LED lights that shine, you should come and see them, they're beautiful. Christmas is my thing. But when I first planted those, they couldn't take a single bulb because they were so small and so weak. And I waited for these, till they grew into this and watched them grow so that now I could decorate them. So I could wait this out. I could keep at this until we get that change, whether in or out of government. I'm very, very, very sure, very confident that that change will come. What the change looks like is what we have to perhaps readjust in our mind. Change, everybody doesn't want to be GoMoseley. I don't want to be you. You think I want to be here at 7 o'clock every morning on the radio?
Six.
Yeah.
So, worse. See, I go to bed at 2 o'clock. I don't want to be here at 6 o'clock in the morning. But you probably don't want to be me either. Where you're going out and hearing and dealing with, and you're in the sun all the time, and you know. So we all have value. How do you tap into the value of each and every citizen while bringing everybody along this journey, but bringing them along the journey in a way they want to come along?
Yeah. Someone might want to ask, what took you so long? Not you specifically, but the government.
Yeah.
Not just this government, but previous governments in addressing some of these issues. And in terms of other parts of the country, because while there's always a focus on Georgetown. It's the capital, so we focus what's going on here. We go on the East Coast, we see problems that are similar. We go on the West Coast, we see problems that are similar. On the East Bank too. So in terms of a holistic plan to capture some of those outlying areas, what's going to be done for that, and then what took you so long?
Well, you see Georgetown. So let me start with
Mhm.
the last thing you say. You see Georgetown. I don't. I have we have built, let's take in the last 5 years, we were building, have built or are building 44 secondary schools, 24 of which are in regions 1, 7, 8, and 9,
Yeah.
right? I think only about 4 or 5 are in Georgetown. So no, we don't serve Georgetown alone. But I want to give you perspective on this, Gordon. There is a photograph that I can produce because it was in the newspapers of me in Tiger Bay, somewhere around 2007,
Mm.
trying the same thing, the changes. And that's why people of Tiger Bay know me. But when I came into office in 2006, we were giving an old age pension of $2,500. It's now 40. It's now phenomenally increased.
40 something, yeah.
Yeah, when I came into office in 2006, we were giving some people a uniform voucher. Some people. It was means tested. You had to be poor. The school had to tell us who these people are. Now every single child gets the Because We Care cash grant. When we came into office, we had a limit on how many people could get public assistance. There's still a limit, but it's significantly increased. We, not so long ago, we were a heavily indebted poor country, hippie country, and that's what it means. Heavily indebted and poor. You got plenty debt and you got no money, right? In 1992, the World Bank, 93, the World Bank did a study on Guyana and said that 67% of our people were living in poverty. This is not Guyana, the World Bank did that. And that 30 something percent were living in dire poverty. In 2008, the World Bank did another study, very similar study on us, and said that we'd cut poverty in half. Um, and we were doing much better. So we'd moved from a heavily indebted poor country, which means we didn't have money to do a lot of things, to a middle income country, and now one of the fastest growing economies. So it comes with perspective. Could you have done the same thing in 2006 that we're doing now? The answer is no. You simply didn't have the resources. If you tried to do that then, we probably wouldn't be where we are now. So it had to be prudent, patient management, economic management over the years. It's very easy, and I hear people talking now, give away all the oil money, give grants and cash grants and pay everybody $1 million and so on. If we do that now versus investing that in infrastructure and facilities now, what will we look like in 10 years? So those are some of the considerations you have to have. So why didn't we fix all the markets in 2006? We didn't have the money to fix all the
To get the
markets
money
in
now.
2006. You have money now and you have will, because we also had more money 5 years ago. So I know that I don't want to make this a political program, but we started the Because We Care cash grant in 2014 when we didn't find a drop of oil. That was abolished in 2015, between 2015 and 2020. It could have continued. It didn't. So I don't think it's only having money. I think it's having money, the political will and direction and vision of how to spend that money to make sure we enhance lives, neighborhoods, and infrastructure, how we change out our country, what we want our country to look like, how we keep the old Guyana that people love and know, the hospitable part of us, the warm part of us, the climate conscious part of us, even as we build out a modern Guyana for the young people and old people now. So it's a vision accompanied by hard work with more resources. More resources alone won't cut it.
Yeah.
More resources alone won't cut it. It has to be accompanied by hard work, has to be accompanied by a very clear vision, not a static vision, because vision evolves as you go along, but at least a vision.
Yeah.
And that's what we have. That's what we do right now in the government.
I know there's been a lot of pushback from some people in terms of wanting more consultation, saying that they believe there should be more consultation on many of these projects. And so, not just the project that you're undertaking, but someone wakes up and they see the neighbor sell the house and a hotel is going up next door. This
Right.
is going up across the road. And what is your ministry going to do with the projects you're overseeing to ensure there's more consultation taking place?
Well, I just told you, Vanessa Ben and Colin Crowell have
Mhm.
gone with NDIA and public works and local governments, technical staff across Georgetown. They have had in excess of 20 meetings, I think,
Yeah.
in every corner of the city where it was public, it was publicly advertised, people attended, people gave their view. That was recorded, that's now being assessed and taken into consideration. So sometimes it's not necessarily more consultation people want, but they want what they want, and regardless of what the consultation shows up,
Mhm.
they'll want what they want. Um, One of the big complaints in local government, so there's a challenge, what you're raising, when you go out, is that people start seeing a road and they don't know the road is being built
Yeah.
or who it's being built by or what specs should be there. So we're changing that out. If a road is going to be built, if a school is going to be built, if a bridge is going to be built, these are the 10 people that will have, or 20 or 50. We're writing that up right now, that will have the specs, what the project is about, who they can call if they're unhappy with something. These are the 10 public buildings that will be posted on. That kind of information that's going out, that we're going to have going out now. And
Yeah.
that's going to be led by the Ministry of Local Government.
I know you have a busy day today. You have to leave in a bit.
I do.
Quickly, Lyndon, I know you brought up Region 10. Two issues up there. One of your first visits there was still at Bamia School. I saw some folks asking questions about that. You made some
Hmm.
statements there. And secondly, the president this past week administered the oath of office to the regional chairman and vice chairpersons. Uh, and so Region 10 is without because of the situation there. What is the role of the local government ministry right now in fixing that issue, that region being without a regional chairman and vice chairman, and then the issue with the school?
Somewhere around 2017, the role of the minister changed, and I agree with the change.
Mhm.
It was that the minister, who is a politically partisan person, regardless of which government is in, would broker or be the person who decides who becomes the chair if something like this happened. And that changed. The minister no longer has a role um, to determine who's going to become the chairman if you have a tie. There's a process, and that process has to be engaged. So I hope that they do that shortly.
But somebody's going to be in charge of the process. There's
Or
the
there's a clerk, and the clerk would have to be in charge of that process.
but he's
Um,
reporting to somebody because he's not called any other meeting. So he's reporting to somebody. Why isn't he calling any meeting that you try to find out, Mr. Clerk? Why aren't you moving this process forward?
I have no doubt Region 10 is going to have their process moved forward with, and a chair and vice chair will be determined. Sometimes it's far more than you see on the surface. I think the parties there have their own issues going on too.
Mm.
So the minister has no role, none. The law removed the role, and it was right to remove the role, because here you have a politically partisan minister who is going to go into a place to tie break. How do you think that's going to work? And it's not even if the minister is fair, it's that it would have appeared unfair, and justice must appear to be fair. Any kind of action must, the perception must not be that it was unfair, and that would just be biased
Yeah.
action, and not necessarily actual bias, but perceived bias, which in law is enough to overturn a decision. So I'm very glad that we had changed that law. We didn't, but I'm glad that the law was changed. The minister has no role on the issue of Bamiam. Um, Contractors there have not finished what they're supposed to do. Up to yesterday, the ministry was there. There's some very minor works left to be done, but we refuse to take a building for the sake of taking a building or a compound or a project so that we could get photographs if we're not completely satisfied that the contractual obligations of the contractors are carried out. Now, this is something contractors across the country are going to have to understand. If you bid for a project, you came and said that you could do this at this cost, in this time, at this quality, and you have to do it. And there's the level of tolerance by the people and government for people who breach those is really, really heavily reduced. I have very little. There are always conditions sometimes that you're willing to hear. Shipping took long, or there was some kind of external thing that people didn't have control over. But it can't take as long as this school has taken. I've been very clear. So you saw me at that day, but I've had several other meetings with those contractors going through what was needed and having them fix. They have assured me that they too want to get off the site. So I suspect, and I fingers are crossed, that even before um, school closes, we can get the children into school. But that would require them finishing the work that has to be finished. We're not taking a building that is not finished.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very disappointed in how long they took.
Yeah. Do you have presidential ambitions?
What kind of question is
Do you
that?
know? Do you have presidential ambitions?
We have a president.
Priya for president. He can't run again, so you must be, thinking of something.
We
Your
have a
party will find
president.
somebody else.
We have a president in place.
Uh-huh.
A president who just started his second term. And I think it's very, very premature to be talking about any other president. This one must be given a chance to do what the people of Guyana elected him to do. He's an elected representative.
But if you're called
People
upon,
said we want Irfan Ali to lead us, and we want him to lead us for 5 years, and we want him to do the things he told us he would do when he consulted with us in the manifesto along with his party. And so Gordon, you gotta be careful with social media. Allows people a lot of freedom.
no, we want to know because you got this nice, you got a nice PR team, and you're seeing these nice glowing shots and looking like Priya ready for president in 2030.
Because my picture look nice. What kind of thing is that?
I didn't even get your picture for look nice, and they take it from there. So, but with you, if you're called upon in a couple of years, because halfway through this president's term, people will start to look at who the party will put forward. Do you think if you were given that you will take it up? Is it something that has crossed your mind?
The party makes these decisions based on a whole range of considerations, and I wouldn't want it done any other way. Because at the end of the day, those considerations lead to we would have, how we would get a better Guyana.
Okay.
And so that's a decision that is done with some at a different place. For me, this is what I will say. Anything worth doing is worth doing well. I operated in 2006 to around 2010, where we didn't have Facebook. We didn't have. I think you had High Five or something. I wasn't in. I wasn't a High Fiver. You probably were because you're very social. You see, I know he was a High Fiver. Sheena doesn't even know what High Five is. She probably wasn't born yet. We didn't have Facebook, so you're seeing pictures now. But I could give you all my pictures from the newspaper that showed that I had the same work ethic in 2006. I did the same, and that I actually really love the fact that I have that where some of my colleagues don't. You couldn't just go out and put something on Facebook. You actually had to be there, authentically doing it. People, if I go into Beirut now, if I walk through Beirut right now, there are people who know me there that never saw me on Facebook, but they know you because you were in Beirut doing work with Beirut. And so don't be too caught up with the social media blitz that allows people to say both Priya's great as well as Priya's not great. Be careful with that. I think, people are entitled to an opinion, but it's very easy to have opinions behind a keyboard, the safety of a keyboard. Some of it is very, very harsh. So we also have to navigate that with our young people. Yeah. How do we maintain mental health and so on when you have people hiding behind pseudonyms and employing an entire farm of bots to go after people? I saw that during the election. It really breaks my heart when I have to block anybody because I like a lot of freedom on my page. But anything bigoted, sexist, anti-LGBTQ, racist, anything like that, you get blocked immediately without question off my page. And so it's a different world that we have to navigate with the advent of social media, which has made it good for freedom of expression, but which also has so many bad qualities that we haven't examined as yet. Um, that we need to, as a world, actually, as a people. But yeah. So I don't get too caught up. I love that I have people on social media that I interact with, and I love that we have a lot of friends, and I love that we've moved the ministry's page from almost non-existent to having close to 40,000 followers, because it means people are interested. But we take that as one part of feedback, just one part of feedback
Yeah.
about what people like and what people want. And there's a much wider scope for feedback, and that's getting on the ground and finding out from villages, from communities, from bottom houses, from public meetings, what it is people want, and we're committed to that. I don't, like I said, I believe in that. That's what I came through. That is what I know. And so you would think that because we're so present, we probably post 1/5 of what we do. We don't post everything we do. So if we were to post everything we do, there would be no space for anyone else. But I also believe we hold information on trust for the people of this country. It's not ours to hold close to our bosom. If we're doing something, people should know. And the only one of the ways of letting them know is through social media. And so you see our presence there as a matter of duty, not vanity, duty. Now, if we look nice while we're doing it, well, we nice. We want we do. Be nice.
And the long answer for a very short question. Thanks a lot to Minister Priya Manickchand, the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, bringing us up to date on some of the works taking place under her ministry, especially that Stabrook Market project that they're now undertaking. When is the completion date again?
Oh, that should be done. I said in under 2 weeks, about a week ago. So maybe it has about 7, 8 days to go.
Okay.
Have you gone back?
No, I haven't been around.
So I've gone back a couple of times. They have some beautiful lights. You're gonna love it.
I'm gonna go and check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for being here this morning on our first edition of New Day.
Yeah. New day. Yeah.
New Day.
Yeah.
You have a good one, a good season, and say hi to my favorite Manickchand, Jaya.
Have a good Christmas to everybody else listening too. Bye bye.